Hi, everyone. I'm Carmen Quatman. I'm an orthopedic trauma surgeon, scientist, educator, caregiver, and patient. So I know many of the people in this room wear lots of hats. I do as well, and I often feel like my heart's being pulled in many different directions. And it never felt more real than almost 5 years ago to the day. I woke up and I was paralyzed in my left leg. I had been caregiving for my dad through the global pandemic as he passed away from glioblastoma. I was also ignoring back pain, and I had a herniated disc, and that piece of disc migrated into my spinal cord area and crushed my nerves. I didn't know if I would make a full recovery, but as you guys can see, I look like I made about 100% full recovery. But it turns out I gained a superpower that day. I also developed something called complex regional pain syndrome, and my leg basically behaves like a thermometer. Whenever I get stressed, I don't sleep, I don't eat well, I actually get severe cramping in my leg and kind of a full neurobody response. And so the clinicians that were working with me basically pulled me to the side and said, you need to work on finding leisure and self-care. And as someone who had been growing up in the surgeon world, that actually felt very foreign to me. And I think many of us think about our lifespans in terms of something like this. We spend our early years focused on education, we 30s to 60s kind of focused on work and family with a plan for leisure, and maybe if we're really lucky, a longevity bonus at the end of life. But it turns out, as my case was and many of us face, is that it turns out more like it's education health crisis. Work, family, health crisis of a family member. Chronic health issues, maybe we don't even get that leisure, and chronic issues and frailty at the end of life. So I really started to think about what that means in terms of our lifespan, and even what peak performance means for us when we're in our work lives. And we all talk about having a great lifespan, but do you really want a long life when you don't have a healthy life? That's where this idea of health span's been coming into play. And I've actually been really focused on this idea of work span because I work with a lot of geriatricians, and they say you should never retire, you should just pivot. But what really matters is our day-to-day habits and what we build over time, our hydration, our nutrition, our ergonomics, sleep, readiness, recovery. But I bet most of you aren't thinking about that during your day. And as I came back from my recovery, I had an amazing medical student in the OR shadowing me. His name is Matthew Marquardt. I don't know if any of you have met him. He's a pro Ironman triathlon. He won 2 Ironmans last year, and he was the top US finisher in the World Championship. And Matthew came to the OR after doing these races, about 8 to 10 hours worth of high performance, and after about 2 hours, he looked at me, he's like, I'm about to pass out. He's like, how are you guys doing this? You're not eating, you're standing up for hours under the light, you don't drink any water. And I wanted to turn to him and be like, hey man, you gotta learn how to buck up for the surgeon culture. And then I realized, well, that is a terrible mentee advice. And I recalled how I actually was given that advice myself. And that day kind of inspired a transition in a lot of the research I've been doing. How can we be sitting in one world in the athletic space talking about peak performance, and yet when we're working on saving lives, we forget about all of that? So we started having fun. We were taking all the technology that we use in our athletes here at Ohio State, throwing wearables, things like continuous glucose monitors, sleep monitors, heart rate variability in our surgeons. You have hit a demand when people are raising their hands so much I had to turn people away as subjects. They were very excited to participate. Not surprisingly, sleep loss is pretty common. We take call. We had a lot of surgeons drop into hypoglycemia, and when I showed the data to the emergency medicine department, they all gasped because that's what we treat at those levels. And even more concerning to me was we started doing some qualitative work, and we asked how many people are intentionally dehydrating themselves before surgery so that they don't have to take a break, and 46% of the people responded that they were. And many didn't know if they could do any better in terms of their work life. So we've been expanding this, and we were really grateful to receive one of the Presidential Catalyst Awards to look at first responders, military, and paramedics in our own community. We have just recently started this study. This was another study where we knew we hit peak demand because we have already turned away 100 subjects who signed up on our interest list. And we're looking at metabolic health, sleep, rest, and trying to develop that early in their careers. Because of this interest, we've gathered a bunch of people and interested to take anybody else that we're looking at diet, recovery, exercise that affect metabolism, and sleep for high-stress occupations, or the DREAMS team. If anybody's interested to come join us, we are literally just Shark Tank styling, throwing things together and taking all the expertise we can to work in this space. And I don't think it would surprise anybody that our first responders have accelerated aging. So if you talk to the law enforcement agencies, they actually have a lifespan that's 21 years less than the normal population. Firefighters and paramedics are most likely to die within the first 10 years of retirement. We have to do better. So this has led to the $16 million trial that was talked about. Nothing better than lived experience to inspire you to write a grant, right? So this trial is focused on healing and empowerment actions for recovery from orthopedic trauma specifically. This is the highest funded orthopedic trial to date. And this is really unique in that we're focusing on not just the patient, but also their care partners and the stress that they experience, and also the healthcare team and the system itself and what we can do about it. The goal of this is we're looking at wraparound coaching services for those people who are in the recovery process. And the second victim or the second trauma patient is actually the care partner. So we're really excited to launch this study. Officially, enrollment will start July 1st. So stay tuned. So if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm hoping we figure out how to do more of this in our life cycle, building more longevity and leisure all throughout so that we have that longevity and leisure at the end of life. So where do we go from here? Well, if anybody's had the chance to see the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, I think we could learn a little bit from that space. It's highly inspirational. There's fueling, there's all kinds of health systems in place for recovery. And my dream is that we actually bring that home to everybody else, all the healthcare workers, all the educators, all the people in the community that are taking care of our own Buckeyes, so that we actually get to experience some of the same amazing technology that's helping our athletes be national champions. Thank you.